Perseverance, grit, determination, they all fit the New York Giants' victory over the Baltimore Ravens 24-20 at MetLife Stadium. I'm going to break it all down for you coming up next on the LockedOn Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, and today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times the amount of your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. And Giants fans, we've got a winning effort to talk about on today's show. But first, David Turner was unable to join me. He had some family come into town, so he wasn't able to catch the game. So it's just going to be me today. And you know what? What a game by the Giants. I don't know what to say. I'm going to do my best to say something about it, but what a game by the Giants. And I think, we've got to start off when we talk about this Giants team. We've got to start off by how they're getting it done. Because when, we look at this Giants team, and I think we can all agree that it's not a complete team. They need receivers. They need to boost up the cornerback depth. They're still not sure, what's going to happen with Daniel Jones, although Daniel Jones is making a pretty strong case to be this quarterback moving forward. They need, probably some more help on the interior of the offensive line. There's a lot of holes that this team needs to fill. And that this team is not going to be able to fill until at least next year. But you know what? They find a way to get it done. Now, how are they getting it done? Quite simply, they're doing things now that they really weren't doing the past few years, such as they are not beating themselves, right? So when a mistake happens, a lot of times the mistake is not a big deal. It's not something stupid that they're doing. Like, for example, take Saquon Barkley, who on the last drive, he needed to pick up a first down and not score in order to give the Giants the ball, to keep the ball on the Giants side and not give the Ravens a chance of, getting the ball back and maybe driving down the field to score. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't make that mistake of scoring. He gave himself up, I think, at the 2-yard line. And the Giants not only picked up the first down, but they were able to run out the clock because the Ravens used up their final timeouts. And the Giants were then able to keep the clock going by running the victory formation. So that's an example of not beating themselves. The other big thing, and this really stood out to me when I was doing the numbers, is that the Giants didn't commit a lot of stupid penalties. You look at the Baltimore Ravens and the Giants, and you look at the penalty count. And I'm going to read it to you because I wrote about it actually for Giants Country. The Ravens racked up 10 penalties in this week's game. 10. The Giants only had 3, but the Ravens, in beating themselves, and they did in a way beat themselves, had 3 false starts just in the first quarter alone. They had too many men on the field, which is a mental mistake. They had an unnecessary roughness call against linebacker AJ Klein, which I think nullified, or actually I think that was on a 4th down, if I'm not mistaken. And the Giants, got a fresh set of downs. They got a 3rd quarter unsportsmanlike penalty on linebacker Odafe Owa, which kept the Giants' drive alive. And the defensive pass interference called against cornerback Marcus Peters in the end zone after Peters had picked off a Daniel Jones interception or picked up a Daniel Jones pass. All right. So that defensive pass interference nullified that interception. And the Giants went on to cap it with the game-winning score. So this is what I mean when I say the Giants didn't go out of their way to beat themselves. They're playing smarter football. They're more prepared. I'm not saying they're playing perfectly because they're not. There's still a lot that needs to be cleaned up. But when you consider the fact that the Giants, and I'll read off some stats for you because this just absolutely blows my mind. The Giants, their rushing game, 31 carries for 83 yards, an average of 2.7 yards per carry. What? How are you going to win a game when you're averaging 2.7 yards per carry on the ground, right? Or how about their passing game? Daniel Jones went 19 of 27, only 173 yards. He was sacked 4 times, but he threw 2 touchdown passes. Name me a lot of teams that are going to win when you throw for under 200 yards. So it takes the effort of all 11 guys on offense, defense, and special teams. And the Giants, by playing pretty much a clean game, a mistake-free game, they were able to hold on. They were able to come from behind, erase a 10-point deficit that was going into the fourth quarter and come out with the victory. And in the process, they handed Lamar Jackson his first loss against an NFC team. And the Giants also now are undefeated this year against teams outside the NFC East. So just an amazing comeback by the Giants to just show grit, determination, just really being able to find ways to get it done. And you know what, folks? I keep saying this every time I think the topic comes up. It's all about the coaching. This coaching staff, you can say what you want about it, but every week, this coaching staff has this team prepared. Every week, this coaching staff is willing to make adjustments. Every week, this coaching staff puts its confidence in the players and gives them a sense of ownership, a piece of ownership of the final outcome. And it is paid off time and time again. It's those little intangibles that have paid off. And we saw it pay off this week as the Giants topped the Baltimore Ravens 24-20. Now stick around, folks, because in the next segment, I'm going to talk about some more from the Giants' amazing 24-20 win over the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, Giant fans, planning your fantasy sports or betting action for 2022 has never been easier when you use Prize Picks. You can win up to 10 times the amount of your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available for any of the major sporting leagues. Entries can be made in as few as 60 seconds. It's that easy. Prize Picks is currently operational in over 30 states and Canada and offers safe and fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks apps today or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget to enter that promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Hey, fellas, want more energy to counter the negative physical effects of aging? Nugenix Total Testosterone Booster with testosterone will help you turn back the clock, re-energize your workouts, get you better results at the gym, and help you look and feel like the person you really want to be. Nugenix Total T contains man-boosting key ingredients like testosterone, and it's been validated in 5 clinical studies shown to boost free testosterone levels in men. Because Nugenix Total T boosts free testosterone that the aging process robs, you'll feel stronger, leaner with more energy, and have more drive. While every product professes quality, many other products use generic ingredients that are often far less than clinical grade. With Nugenix Total T, you get the same clinical potency levels used in trials. And Nugenix's formula is backed by 10 years of science and research. Now you can get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix's Total T when you text NFL to 231-231. Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Again, text NFL to 231-231. Text NFL to 231-231. Message and data rates may apply. For terms and conditions, please visit nugenix.com/terms. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. And thanks again for making LockedOn Giants your first listen every day. Make sure you check out NFL Key Predictions every Friday on LockedOn NFL. LockedOn's local experts give you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday night and Monday night football. Plus, you'll get betting advice from the field's leading expert, BetOnline. Follow NFL Key Predictions every Friday on the LockedOn NFL podcast, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Patricia Traina. We are talking about the New York Giants' 24-20 win over the Baltimore Ravens. And folks, I want to talk about the defense in this segment because the defense really came to play and got it done. But let me just give you some more numbers here real quick. That if you were to look at these and not having really watched a game, you would say to yourself, how on God's green earth did this Giants team beat the Ravens? All right, so the Ravens rushed 24 times for 211 yards. That's an 8.8 average per carry. All right, they had the one touchdown, by the way, and their longs included runs of 25 yards by Lamar Jackson and 30 yards by Kenyon Drake. All right, so basically the run defense was getting gashed left and right. The passing, Lamar Jackson threw for 210 yards, completed 17 of 32, had one touchdown, one interception. His big-time target, Mark Andrews, who I think primarily drew Julian Love in coverage, and then at the end they switched it up a little bit. They put Xavier McKinney on Andrews. Mark Andrews caught 7 of 11 pass targets for 106 yards and a touchdown. His long was 18 yards. All right. So the Giants, you look at these numbers and you say, how could they have won? Well, I'm going to give you some other numbers that indicate how good this defense really was. All right. We're going to start off with red zone efficiency. The Ravens were 1 of 3 for 33% in the red zone. All right. When you're not scoring in the red zone, and you've probably seen me tweet this a lot of times, especially when the Giants have to settle for field goals, I always say field goals ain't going to cut it. Well, folks, the Ravens had to settle for field goals. And actually, what's interesting is their reliable kicker, Justin Tucker, missed a 56-yarder. His first miss, I think, in something like 8 games. The 56-yarder hit the left upright in a classic doink situation. But otherwise, the Ravens had to settle for 2 field goals, 34 and 23 yards. And had Tucker made that other one, it would have been 56 yards. So that would have been 3 field goals they settled for in the red zone. And it's just not going to get a cut. It's just not going to cut it, folks. It just really isn't going to cut it. Third down. Let's talk about third down, the job the Giants did on third down. So the Ravens had 10 third down opportunities. They converted just 4, 40%. That's not good. All right. The Giants, for comparison, went 7 of 14, 50%. You want to be converting at least 50% or more of your third down plays. And if you're not, in that range, then chances are you're probably not moving the chains as well as you should be moving them. So the Giants, despite the fact that they only amassed 238 yards of total net offense to the Ravens' 406 yards, came up big on defense. Now, no place did the Giants come up bigger, I should say, than towards the end of the game. So let me just turn to that page to read you, recap what they did. So within the last 2 minutes or so of the game, you had the big fumble, forced fumble. Actually, it was a strip sack by rookie Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, for those of you who kept saying, when is this guy going to do something? Folks, I've been telling you all along that Thibodeau is actually getting close. He was coming off of the knee injury. He was still getting his feet underneath him, but he was starting to influence the game. You could see little signs of him influencing the game. And today, he finally did so. He came up with a big strip sack of Lamar Jackson. It was an 8-yard sack, a fumble that was recovered by Leonard Williams at the Ravens 13. Giants take over. That's the play or the series in which Barkley 2 runs, picks up the first down, and the Giants bleed out the clock. Game over. So the defense coming up with a huge strip sack. Okay, another big play that the Giants defense came up with in the fourth quarter, a little earlier in the fourth quarter, was an interception. Their first, believe it or not, the Giants defense's first interception of the year. This one by safety Julian Love. And this came on a 3rd and 5. Lamar Jackson, that was the play in which the snap was a little off to Lamar Jackson's right side, and he kind of fumbled the snap but recovered it. And what happened was actually the Ravens had 3rd and 5 at the 40-yard line, their 40-yard line, and Jackson fumbled and recovered the snap at the 27, his 27-yard line. Then he tried to throw and hit Patrick Richard, the fullback, and Love just was right there, picked it off, returned it to the Ravens' 27-yard line before he was tackled. That interception, ladies and gentlemen, set up the Giants' go-ahead drive. All right, because let's see, the Giants had 2 plays, then the 2-minute warning, and then 2 plays later on a 1st and goal from the 1, Saquon Barkley was punching it in from the 1-yard line. So it was a touchdown. Giants took the 24-20 lead, never to look back, erased a 10-point deficit. And the defense, like I said, they came to play. And then one other guy who we have to mention, who also has been coming to play. And this guy's just been absolutely lighting it up. And I want to just pull up his stats real quick. Dexter Lawrence. Okay, so can we talk about Dexter Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen? Dexter Lawrence finished with just 1 tackle on the stat sheet, but he also had a sack for 7 yards, a tackle for a loss, 2 quarterback hits, and a pass defense, a pass breakup. Dexter Lawrence in his last, I want to say, let me just check that real quick. Last 3 games, Dexter Lawrence has recorded 4 sacks, right? He had 2 against Chicago, 1 against Green Bay, and the 1 this week against the Ravens. That matches Lawrence's high, I believe. In 2020, he had a high of 4 sacks in that season. Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, is playing lights out football for this team. And he has been with or without Leonard Williams. And the good news is that the Giants did exercise his 5th-year option. So he is under contract next year, but he keeps playing like this. And folks, he's going to be a very rich young man before too long, because he will be getting himself a nice little contract extension. All right, Giant fans, stick around. I've got one more segment to go, and I want to talk about some generic thoughts coming out of this wins, things that stood out to me that I think a lot of people might not notice or overlook. So stick around. We'll get to those right after this. Hey, Giant fans, if you're taking countless vitamins and supplements as part of your daily diet, now there is a single product that delivers 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. All it takes is 1 delicious scoop of AG1 by Athletic Greens to get the key elements necessary to support your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and to slow down aging. AG1 is lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. And it tastes great. and it costs you less than $3 a day, far less than what it would cost you to purchase and store multiple bottles of vitamins and supplements. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL network to take ownership over your health and to pick up the ultimate insurance in daily nutrition. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'm Patricia Traina. And again, thank you for making the LockedOn Giants podcast your first listen every day. When you're finished with today's episode, please make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And before I get into this final segment with y'all, just a reminder, tomorrow, Twitter Tuesday. So you know what to do. Get those questions in. Information is in the show notes, or you can send them to me on Twitter. Make sure you tag them Ask P-Train so that they pop up and I get them into the show. Also coming up on Wednesday, those of you who are on YouTube, you probably have noticed I've already posted Wednesday's show. I was joined by NFL legend, Pro Football Hall of Famer Harry Carson, who is in the Giants Ring of Honor. Harry's being honored this week by the TCJ Fund for his work with young cancer patients and their families. But Harry joined me. We were talking, in addition about his work with the TCJ Fund, we talked about the Giants defense and some of what Harry likes and what he's observed. Harry is just a really good fountain of knowledge and just an overall terrific guy. And I don't know, those of you listening or watching, I don't know if you remember seeing him back in the day when he was a player, but he was one heck of a linebacker. Just an amazing success story. A guy who converted from basically defensive lineman to an inside linebacker and made a Hall of Fame career out of it. So that episode is coming up Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to do the crossover show with the one and only Tony Wiggins, host of Locked On Jaguars. And then Friday, you asked for it. We're going to do it again live, Locked On Giants live with Traina, Tana, and Bad Dog. So that's what's coming up on the Locked On Giants podcast this week. Hope you will check out all the episodes. All right, folks, let's get to this final segment. I want to talk about just a few other X factors and things that came out of this game. First off, got to give props to defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale didn't really blitz a whole lot. Lamar Jackson, which I didn't think he would, because you blitz Lamar Jackson, he's going to make you pay for it. But there were times when you saw this really creative looking defensive formation where you had guys standing around the line of scrimmage. We call that the amoeba alignment. Basically, it's just guys standing around and you don't know who's going to drop, who's going to rush, who's going to stay at home. And it caused some confusion for the Ravens. And I think we saw that at least once, I want to say twice during this game. So just nice little wrinkles that Wink threw into the game plan that just, helped the Giants get the better of the Ravens. Because in the beginning, like I said, the Ravens were really getting the better of the Giants, and Wink came up with little adjustments, if you will, to slow them down somewhat. The other thing I want to point out about this win, and this is something that I've noticed about Brian Daboll, and I've got to give the man props. Brian Daboll, it just seems like every week he is mentioning somebody from the staff, whether it be Laura Young, who's his chief of staff, or this week it was Dr. Laney Lawrence. He mentions somebody who's part of the team, somebody who you wouldn't even think of, and kind of gives them, some bouquets of flowers, if you will, towards the win. And this week it was Dr. Laney Lawrence, who's the team's sports psychologist. And what Daboll was pretty much talking about is he was asked about how the Giants are able to overcome adversity. A play goes wrong or something happens on the field. And how is it that these players don't get down on themselves? And he talked about Dr. Lainey Lawrence and how she constantly talks to players, works with them to try to get them, to think, okay, guys, forget about what happened. That's in the past. We can't go back and change it. Let's focus on the future because that's what we can control. And I just thought that was a really powerful thing, a powerful message, if you will, to say, because, when we think of football wins, we think of, maybe the coaching, the players, the outstanding plays, but the Giants have really shown through this season so far that is a total team and organization effort. It's not just the coaches who we can give a lot of credit to, obviously. It's not just the players who are going out there and putting their bodies on the line. It's everybody. And really, that's how it should be. In the past, there were times when certain coaches would take credit for the win and they would point the finger for the loss. And that's how you create a splintered locker room. Dable has made sure to keep them together. We talk about culture and what a big deal that is. And under Dable, that really is a big deal, folks, because everybody is bought in. Everybody is, on board with what he's doing. And no matter what, it's like when you're united like that, it doesn't matter what adversity pops up. You just feel that you're not alone and you can overcome whatever comes your way. That's the feeling when you get when you talk to these players, that they're not alone. There were times when I would go into that locker room and I talk to guys and they would be down. They would be like, "Oh, I'm the reason why we lost," or, "We're the reason why we lost," meaning a specific group. You don't get that anymore. And not just because the Giants aren't losing, but because it's just such a support system. Each unit, each player is supporting one another. Then you throw in the support of the coaches and you've got a rock solid foundation. I mean, let's face it, folks. Let's be honest. Is this Giants team the most talented out there? Probably not. Does it have the best pedigree out there? Not yet. No, too many holes on this team. But sometimes when you think about it, the will to win is more than 50% mental. It's about what you have in your heart and what you have in your head. And this Giants team, you can tell they have heart and their heads are screwed on straight. And that is why they have been able to overcome the odds that have been stacked against them seemingly week after week after week. And I don't know about you folks, but I am really pumped up. I am excited to see what they do these next 2 weeks when they go on the road to face Jacksonville next week and then Seattle the week after before going into the bye week. I think it should be fun and it should be competitive. And hopefully we'll have a couple more winning podcasts to talk about. So anyway, folks, that's going to do it for us here on the LockedOn Giants podcast. Again, thank you for making us your first listen of the day, or if watching on YouTube, your first watch of the day. Twitter Tuesday tomorrow. Ask P-Train is that hashtag if you're sending me something on Twitter. All the information is in the show notes. You can email lockedongiantspodcast@gmail.com. Get those questions in because around 7 o'clock or so, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to tape Twitter Tuesday. So can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow, Giants fans.